Well, it is the afternoon of January 6th. Getting geared up here for what's going to be my last hunt of the season. And it's always a bittersweet event. You know, it's been a long fall starting in late August with the deer tour starting off in North Dakota, Nebraska, Missouri, Michigan, New York, where else? Mississippi. Guys are in Mississippi right now. We've been all over the place and it's been a very good fall. We've been blessed. And a lot of that is thanks in part to you who are watching for giving us a platform to be able to do what we do. And we can't begin to tell you how much we appreciate it. All the comments, the feedback, getting to meet people as we travel, sharing hunting stories, and just, you know, getting to know people. It's awesome. So anyways, as I said, this is going to be my last hunt of the season. Unfortunately, so far, the late muzzleloader has been a bit of a bust. The weather has been pretty warm and stagnant. There hasn't been any major cold fronts, so daylight activity has been minimal. And right now, all of the guys are hunting in Mississippi, and Zach and Grant are in Ohio. So doing any kind of forced movement hunts as a group, like we typically do during the gun seasons, isn't really an option. So my strategy has been to hunt in tight as I can to bedding and just try to catch a buck on his feet, you know, close to his bed, because they just don't have to move very far during daylight right now. They're not food stressed. So this afternoon, I'm hunting an area that we spent a lot of time in this fall, and especially Zach. And this is close to where he shot that big 8-pointer during the second shotgun season, and also where he had a series of crazy bow hunts during the rut. So this area has been really good in the rut, it's been really good in the gun seasons, and we've also got some good bucks that have shown up on the trail camera that Zach and Jake put up back in mid-November. Last week, Jake and I were talking about some of the spots that would be worth focusing on, and this general area is pretty much number one on the list. I actually hunted close to here on the north end of this bowl, I guess you would call it, a few days ago, and I only saw a couple does and a small buck, but I've been saving this particular spot that I'm going to tonight. It's kind of the ace in the hole, and primarily because we've had a couple days with real breezy conditions. So I've taken advantage of that to push in close to some of the other bedding areas that are harder to access. But today, with relatively calm conditions, I can still get away with pushing in deep to this spot because there's a mowed and tilled trail that goes back pretty much all the way back to where I want to go. So I've got about a mile walk, and I'm planning to set up in a spot where there's several different habitat types that all come together, and there's a bunch of thick bedding in close proximity. So that's the plan. Well, I'm about a mile back in from the access point. I'm within about 100 yards of where I want to set up on the point of this timber. And as you can see, there's a bunch of different habitat types that come together. Got this real thick stand of native grass, a tree row that runs the length of it, and there's a gap up on top of the hill right about there. It's just a natural spot where deer cross over. So anyways, I've been sneaking along the edge of the CRP here, just trying to stay low and out of sight. But I'm going to get somewhere on this point right here. Well, set up and ready to go. Okay, so here's my view. Got the camera set up on my right side, gun on the left, but as you can see, there's just a whole network of trails that comes through this corner of the timber here, and that tree gap I was talking about earlier is right there. A little bit of a saddle in the terrain, and a lot of these trails go right up through that gap in the trees. Hopefully, deer are either going to come out from the marsh, come down this edge of this thick cover, or even better yet, along the edge of the timber. I'll be able to stay well hid behind the trunk of the tree. Well, the sun is just hitting the horizon, so I got 30 minutes left. I can see a couple of antlerless deer about 500 yards away. Hasn't been much activity tonight, which is what I kind of expected. Just dead calm and relatively warm temperatures. I can hear deer in the timber. But got my last minute opportunity here right at sunset. I was watching a couple deer out in the marsh, and all of a sudden I heard footsteps back up in the timber. When I zoomed in on the deer, I could tell it had a decent set of antlers, but I could see that it was looking up here at me, so I just froze. Let him settle down. Grabbed the gun and got the camera back on him, and I've got a little lane right ahead of me. So I just positioned the camera for him to walk into that lane. But I had a solid rest across my tether and up against the tree. I just took my time, put the crosshairs on him, pulled the trigger, but of course there's just all smoke. And I would doubt that you can really see much in the camera too, because the gun was straight up over the top of the camera. Down to the wire, but I listened. But there was a lot of crashing as he took off up into the timber, so. Yes, last half hour of my season here in Iowa. Well, I just got down out of the tree. I got all the gear torn down. I played the footage back, and the interesting thing is I believe that this buck is the same one that Zach had actually took a shot at and hit high, way high, back in mid-November. It looks a lot like that buck, at least. It's got a tall, wide frame. But anyways, I couldn't tell anything as far as the hit goes. Smoke just filled the screen. I couldn't hear the bullet impact. But based on the way he took off crashing through the timber, I'm confident I made a good shot and that he went down. The only thing that makes me question that is the fact that I continue to hear a deer running away through the timber. But there was another deer with him, so I'm guessing that is what I continue to hear running after all that initial crashing. Again, I think I made a good shot and the buck is down, but I'm going to proceed with caution. What I'm going to do, or I guess what I've done, is I've taken a still shot on my phone of where the buck was standing. I've got a good line from the tree, so even though it's dark, I should be able to line everything up and figure out exactly where he's standing, because that can get a little bit tricky sometimes, especially when you shoot a deer in the distance. It's easy to lose track of that exact spot. Okay, there's the opening I was shooting through right there. Yep, same exact shape. So that was the vine in front of him, and he was standing directly in front of that tree right there. That's so handy, having that on video, being able to line everything up. A lot of people say they don't really care if we don't get the shot on video, but this is one of the reasons that we try our hardest to do so. I mean, you can learn a lot from it, we can teach a lot more, but having this still frame to pull from, having the video makes it so much easier to find exactly where that deer was standing. There we go. There's hair. Little speck of blood. Good deal. Yep. Got the hair pinned. I'm gonna turn on the tracker. Let's see if I can find some blood. Okay, hair was right there. Don't see any blood immediately, but they don't always bleed real well with a muzzleloader hit. There we go. There's blood. Oh yeah. Good blood. There's more blood. Yep, there's more. Right there. I'm gonna go ahead and get my gear out of here, go back to the truck, call Mindy, come out and have ourselves a little tracking party, but based on what I'm seeing right now, I don't think he's gonna be very far. Yes, good deal. Big relief. Well, just made it back to the truck. I'm gonna head to town, grab a bite to eat, charge some batteries, and pick up Mindy. And I'm really excited that we got the chance to go on a blood trailing and deer dragging adventure together. It's been a long time since we've had a chance to do that. And on top of that, I get to let Zach know and the guys know that I'm pretty sure that we've got closure on that buck that he had hit back in mid-November. I'll know better when I look at the footage on the screen at home, but based on what I can tell on the LCD and the picture that I took on my phone, pretty sure I can see what would be on the, I think, the exit side. There's a little tuft of hair where you can see that that wound is probably healed. So all around, a great way to close out the season. I'm excited to be able to spend some time with Mindy out in the field. The only bad thing is she's got a really bad cold right now, so she's not feeling well, but she insisted on coming out tonight.
We there?
We're here.
All right.
Okay, well, I just dropped the cart back there. Got Mindy behind me. I'm doing an interview.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just following Onyx to my pin here, where I left off with last blood. Oh, look at that. Yeah, bright red blood. Really good blood trail for a muzzleloader hit. They're not always this good. Yep, that's why I heard all this crashing. He was just barreling through this stuff.
Oh, there he is.
Got him?
Yeah, he's right there.
Heck yeah. Oh. Some gnarly stuff here. Oh yeah. Look at that. Man, what a cool buck. Look at that. Just look how wide. I love all the different colors, dark around the bases. He's got gray mixed in there. He was quartering away, hit him maybe 6-7 inches behind the shoulder, and I'm guessing it exited. Oh yeah, exited right on his shoulder. Just like that bow buck I shot back in November. I mean, this guy didn't make it 50 yards. Probably double lung and heart. I mean, they are closing in on us.
I'll just fight him off.
You gonna fight him off? Well, you have wrangled crocodiles, wallabies,
otters,
and you are the dog whisperer, so a pack of coyotes is no big deal for you.
No problem, I got this. I'll protect you, Frank.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad you're here.
So like high five, tackle, what do you know?
Yeah, the guys typically go for a tackle.
Good job, Greg.
Hey, 11:40.
Hey, not too bad.
Now, granted, we're probably not going to get home until 3 or 4 in the morning. But the interesting thing is we actually have some history with this deer dating back to late November. Zach had actually found this buck bedded with a doe out in this marsh back behind where I was hunting tonight, and he made an incredible stalk and eventually got a shot at it, but just hit the deer high. And we would look at the footage back in the office and we could tell right away that it was more than likely going to be a non-lethal shot. But you got to pay due diligence whenever you hit an animal or think you hit an animal. So we spent the next day looking for the deer, grid searching for the deer. So we knew pretty much from the get-go that it was a non-lethal hit. Sure enough, as it turns out, I mean, the deer, other than just a little bit of pus right there looks perfectly fine. Looks healthy, his coat looks good, his body's still in good shape. He's not thin at all, not thinner than what you'd expect for a buck that had been through the rut already, and we're into early January here. Antlers are still firmly in place. You know, we've pulled them a little bit and there's no sign of antlers popping off. So the deer is still in really good shape. Now, when we were blood trailing him, I thought it'd be, instead of having Mindy following behind and filming, and I thought it'd be more fun to just...
Ah, one of my favorite sounds.
Barred owl. We got all kinds of wildlife out here talking tonight. But anyways, getting back to the point of the blood trail, it's just figured it'd be more fun to just film it with the GoPro and have Mindy. Mindy found the deer.
First one ever.
First time she's ever found a deer.
Well, I'm usually at the back of the pack, so.
So there's a lot of different ways that people can enjoy the outdoors, and we get a lot of questions as to when we're going to let Mindy hunt. And it's not that we're trying to hold her back or anything, but you just never have been really interested in actually shooting an animal.
No, not really. I'm interested in everything else.
Really going back to when we first started dating, you would come out with me and film. In fact, the first time that we ever turkey hunted together and the first time we ever deer hunted together, you filmed me shoot a turkey and a deer.
Right.
Like, you seemed to be my good luck charm. So we had a lot of fun hunting together, but we also got to work on a deer research project together. And that was part of my master's degree, was radio collaring bucks and studying their movements, survival rates. So whether it's been hunting or working on the deer research project together, we've had a lot of adventures around white-tailed deer. So anyways, I guess that's a little bit of a tangent, but that's, for anybody that's been curious, that's a little bit of a backstory on Mindy and I.
And with that, it is time to get him out of here. They're saying, hurry up, man.
Well, give me a few minutes, you can have a go. Oh. Cliff bar time. Running on empty. We're a little over halfway, so not doing bad. 2 a.m. breakfast.
That's not too bad. We might make it home before 4.
Oh, you never know with the Ranger.
Let's not jinx ourselves.
Just coasting. All right, home stretch. Last hill. Nap time?
No. This truck is so loud I can't sleep. Oh, please start.
Camera light's flickering, about out of battery. GoPro battery says 0%.
I'm at 0%.
You're at Mindy's at 0%. Couldn't have timed it better. Time to go home. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you've enjoyed this 4-part series going back to the 3 previous videos where Zach was bow hunting back in the middle of November. So the interesting thing is there was a little more to the story with this buck, and it's kind of funny the way that it played out. But on January 6th, it was the day that I'd shot the deer, Zach gets a message from Jake, who had got a cell cam picture of that buck the evening before, on the 5th. So he messages Zach and Grant, who were in Ohio hunting at the time, letting him know that that buck he had hit had showed up on camera and that he was still alive. So Grant and Zach, who were hunting at the time, have a big celebration. It's really emotional. It was a huge relief. They're excited that the deer was still alive and they've got some closure on it. And then a few hours later, I texted Zach and said, I'm pretty sure that I just shot the buck that you had hit back in November. So in the course of roughly a half a day, all of a sudden this buck that had been a mystery for so long for Zach, he gets a message that the deer is still alive. And then he gets a message that the deer is probably dead. So it was kind of funny the way it played out, but it was also rewarding in a way that the effort that we went through to track the deer, to grid search it, putting the cameras up and trying to get an answer on it, in the end, paid off. So that was a wrap for our Iowa season, and we're starting to wind things down a little bit now as far as the deer hunting goes. We've got one more video for you coming up. Our good friend Josh Tatum shot an awesome buck in Kansas this year. We'll have that for you. And then that pretty much wraps up the deer content. We've got Ted Miller's elk hunt coming at you here soon. We've got some really cool podcasts that we did with Ranch Fairy. And then we'll have a bunch of turkey hunting content leading in to the turkey tour that'll start up in mid-March. So we've got a bunch of stuff coming at you here soon. But before we head out on the turkey tour, we're going to be hitting up some of the deer classics here in February and March. First stop is going to be at the NWTF convention in Nashville. And then in early March, we'll be at the Iowa Deer Classic. And then in mid-March, we'll be at the Minnesota Deer Classics. So hopefully if you're in one of those areas, you'll get a chance to come out. We'd love to meet you, chat with you for a while. Like I said, NWTF will be at the Woodhaven booth, and then at the Iowa and Minnesota Deer Classics, we'll have our own booth there, and we'll be doing seminars as well. So we got a lot coming at you here in the next few months on the channel and traveling around. Hopefully we'll see you somewhere along the way. As always, we appreciate all the different ways that you guys support us. We'll see you on the next video.